everyone? Welcome to another episode of 5 Lug Racing. My name is Don. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Ryan. We are going to break down everything All-Star. I'm sorry, not All-Star, Charlotte. We are way past All-Star. It felt like an All-Star event the way it was all set up the entire weekend. It was an absolute blast. Huge 600-mile race that we get to cover. We're going to look ahead to Nashville a little bit. We'll cover some playoff implications that are taking place with a couple of the RFK guys. But of course, we wanted to extend a shout out to our wonderful sponsor, KK's Diecast Community. We will include his link down in our descriptions and stuff below. Make sure you go over there and check out his page there on Facebook. They've got all sorts of wonderful stuff to shop through. If you're looking for any specific driver, chances are our guy Kevin has it. So make sure you check out his link down there. Ryan, we just did 600 miles of pure mayhem. The race was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed race weekend. Everything about it, from the stages to the potential winner that come up late in a backup car on top of it. Let's talk about it, bro. How you doing? What'd you think of Charlotte this weekend?
Oh man, I'm doing great, and I have to say we seem to dodge that those green blips all around the radar. We got our racing in. I know even Indy teased us a little bit. Kept, oh, we're gonna get this going, or we're not gonna get this going, and shout out to Alex Palou, Indy 500 champion. What an incredible! He never won an oval track before this weekend, and just incredible for him and Chip Ganassi Racing. Congratulations! And then we go fast forward to the World 600. The Coca-Cola 600. What an event! Just everything it stands for, everything that NASCAR does a great job at making sure it stands for, that we remember the true meaning behind the weekend. That the reason that we get to go watch racing. So yeah, it was a great Memorial Day weekend. Incredible racing on the track. Charlotte is, it's a great oval track. It really is, and you know, I love the transition from day to night. And I mean, there was one car that just seemed to absolutely had just nailed his setup, and that was the 24 car, William Byron. We'd be amiss to not talk about him at all. Just flat out rocket ship. Unfortunately, just another didn't close it deal.
Yep.
And that's because of another rocket ship in a bow tie of Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man, getting it done. That was an incredible end of the race where Ross is able to go and run down and catch and pass William Byron, and wasn't a thing Byron can do about it late. I mean, just another one of those races where you see the second place car set up the car beautifully in front of him. And I'm thinking back to a week prior at the All-Star race, when it was Logano and Bell, vying for a win. And this week we had Byron and Chastain. What a huge win for that Trackhouse team that had junked a race car the day before that race. They, thankfully that's a home field advantage track, because the shops are all relatively close to Charlotte Motor Speedway. They go back working on cars till 2 a.m, or more from what we heard, and they get that car loaded up into Charlotte. And man, I think that 24 hours later, it's sitting in victory lane, and just incredible racing weekend. And congratulations to Trackhouse Racing, Ross Chastain. What a huge win that had really been struggling at times this year, seemingly, to find speed. And then when they, I want to put it this way. I feel like Ross was getting more out of that car than what the car was giving him early in the season. And there were races where they were just abysmal on Saturdays or Fridays whenever they would qualify and practice and just, you know, how 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 long can you go into a season just with poor qualifying effort after poor qualifying effort after poor qualifying effort and expect great results when track position matters so much? Well, in a race like the Coke 600 where you got 100 extra laps than your typical race, and just, a lot longer of an event, them starting in the rear, they were able to make it all count. They had a fast race car, and they continued to work on it and get that balance right and just put a rocket ship under him. And you give Ross a piece, and he's going to get everything he can out of that thing. And
Right.
he did just that this weekend. Be interesting to see, if they can get their qualifying efforts, and their practice speed fixed because they did seemingly have a fast car. They unloaded fast at Charlotte, but again, he wrecked it. So it was you never know what you're going to get when you go to a backup car. I mean, you can take all your notes that you had and try everything you can to put it into that car, and then it has to go through tech, which it did, and just incredible. Just so it's not very common to do what they did, to absolutely smash up a car on Saturday and go build a brand new one. And when I say build a brand new one, I mean, let's be honest, they had the chassis, they had it, but they had to put that thing together. They had to put a lot of parts and pieces in that thing to get it Charlotte ready, and they did that. And just hats off to the men and women back at Trackhouse Racing because we talk so much about how this is a team sport. Well, that team won the race. I mean, sure, the pilot was Ross Chastain on Sunday night, but that team won that race, and Ross couldn't have done it without those guys busting their humps back at the shop to put a car onto the track, that they felt was capable of competing. So, really, really, really impressive.
Absolutely. Well said. Great breakdown. Yeah, congratulations to Trackhouse. It looks like they're starting to finally maybe turn a little bit of a corner. We're talking about week 13 headed into week 14, guys. We are halfway through the regular season. We are not halfway through the full season yet. Give us 5 more races and we'll be halfway there. But we are halfway, 13 down, 13 to go in the regular season. It is buckle up and go time. No more waiting, no more sitting around. Ross Chastain saw an opportunity with a very, very fast car. Like you said, the team working into all hours of the night. We've seen it before in the past where teams work on these backup cars, have it ready to go in the morning so that they can make the grid, and the backup car just isn't up to snuff to what they were the day before, whether it be practice or qualifying. Trackhouse put out a fast backup Chevy for Ross Chastain to go out there and do work. Hats off to the pit crew. Pit crew got him several spots along the way of this 600-mile event, which was extra important. We saw the same thing with Denny Hamlin and his pit crew. I think they gained him about 8 or 10 spots on pit road alone. Denny Hamlin, of course, doing the rest of the work, being the savvy veteran that he is, found his way battling with Byron throughout that race. Talk to me, Ryan.
Yeah, I have to, before we go drift too far of what you just said, Denny Hamlin's pit crew just saw that they clocked the fastest pit stop in NASCAR history this past weekend.
Yes,
They
they
have
did.
dethroned the 14, now debunked 14 car from Stewart Haas Racing. They had that title, but now that goes to the 11 team. I think it was a sub 9 second pit stop. It was 8 like oh something ridiculous. That's
It was bomb.
ridiculous. Four tires and fuel. Hats off to the crew's getting it done this weekend. Sorry to cut you off, but we needed to at least mention that because that is impressive stuff.
No, it's absolutely important. That's one of the things we preach here at Five Lug Racing is how much of a team sport this is. Without your pit crew balling out and getting your booty back on the racetrack, you can't go win races. That's what it is. So shout out to Denny Hamlin's crew. Then Denny Hamlin gets a message on the radio in their last pit stop that they didn't get enough fuel into the car. For whatever reason, the male coupling to the female coupling of the actual fuel opening on the race car did not connect correctly. They showed the replay for everybody to see. Everybody in their children saw it. gas just pouring out onto the race car and onto the ground, none of which going into Denny Hamlin's car takes what could have been a top 2, top 3 car, possibly another race win for Denny, and puts him a little bit further back than he would have liked to have been for such a dominant day. William Byron, that 24 car, that was actually my pick for this weekend. I was smiling the whole race. I was like, man, I might have actually gotten a pick here. And sure enough, 283 led laps out of the 400. And here comes Ross Chastain, baby. That guy is flying. William Byron gets caught up on some dirty air with some of the lap cars. Fair game to Reddick and Joey Logano. They did nothing wrong. We have got to get this out of people's social media, keyboard warrior, whatever you want to call it, about Joey Logano and it just happened to be Joey and Reddick this time. But these guys are fighting for their own points. These guys are fighting for their own teams. They don't give a hoot about the 24 car and him racing for a win. That is not their concern. Their concern is to get as many points and as many positions as possible. So we've got to find a way, fans. We've got to find a way to be a little bit more lenient on well, they should have just moved out of the way for William Byron. No, that's not what racing is. Would you want your driver to just move out of the way? That doesn't make sense. So I had to get that out of my system. It's been eating at me a little bit. We've got to be more understanding to the lap cars, guys. Whether it's your driver or it's hindering your driver, they are out there fighting for every single last point, especially guys like Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano, who have championship aspirations for 2025. They're not just going to move out of the way. Okay. If William Byron was capable, he would have taken that 24 car, passed him, and gone and won the race. Instead, Ross Chastain comes up, gets the pass made, finds himself a checker flag, watermelon pieces all over the front straightaway. It was awesome to see. I love Ross Chastain's celebration. I wish we had more unique celebrations like what Ross, Shane Van Gisbergen brings to it. Rowdy Busch, he's got he likes to bow to the crowd, enjoy the show, type stuff. I love that kind of gamesmanship and sportsmanship when it comes to our NASCAR racing that we love to view. Nobody wants to see a driver get out and just, give a no teeth smile and thank you for my flag. Come on. No, we need the character. We need the excitement that comes with it. Ross Chastain is your 2025 Coke 600 winner. And Ryan, we're headed to Nashville, Music City.
Headed to Nashville.
You're doing another intermediate. All right. Let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, Nashville, the music capital of the world. Nashville, baby. Listen, I'm a musician. For anybody who didn't know this, a fun fact, I'm a musician. I can play guitar. I'm a singer-songwriter. So when we talk about Nashville and, the race winner gets to hoist a freaking guitar, a Gibson guitar in Victory Lane, I'll still never forget the year that Rowdy Busch just totally annihilated it. I'm like, oh, it just broke my heart. But, he's going to display it that way, and it's special to him that way. So, whatever. But I'm just like, oh, no, guitar crime. But anyway.
What's interesting about that Rowdy guitar smash is, now I don't know how valid this is, but from stuff I've seen and read from Rowdy Busch fans, is Rowdy actually had pre-planned, if he won the race, that they had a kind of a knockoff dummy trophy type made, so that if he won, he had the idea of doing what rock stars do. They go out there and they smash guitars, right? It made for a really cool highlight and memory that will live on forever in NASCAR history. Now,
except he smashed the wrong one.
And a broken guitar all over the place. But I love the celebration. I hated seeing the guitar get smashed up. It is what it is. It's material things that can be replaced. It made for a great memory that will forever live on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Rowdy. Rowdy. We hadn't seen him in Victory Lane in a while, for sure, man.
And I'll tell you what, it could potentially happen here at Nashville. This is a track that favors Rowdy Busch. A segue into all that fun stuff. But we head to Nashville, which is 1.33 miles in length. It's a concrete track, and we're running every single race at night this weekend. Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, prime time on Prime. And by the way, before we dig too deep into it, shout out to Amazon Prime.
My goodness.
I know that there are a lot of older school NASCAR fans that might have been a little upset and hurt on the fact that they had to go find a streaming service to watch their racing. And I get that. Change can be hard sometimes. But NASCAR and Prime teamed up and offered 30 days free. So
Yep.
if you didn't do it last weekend, you could watch all 4 of the remaining races on Prime and cancel that free subscription if you really don't want it. But I'm an Amazon Prime member. I'm in the modern times, and it is what it is, right? But I'll tell you, crystal clear 4K. The audio was incredible. The picture was perfect. The before the race content and the post race content is what I feel like some of what NASCAR has been missing, that connection back to the fans. It's hard with these major networks on TV, and I'm not disrespecting any of them, Fox, NBC, whatever. They're in their own up against it with commercials and their own sponsors and things that they can and cannot do that a streaming service can. And that's why Amazon Prime delivered amazing. Now, their first race out of the gate, let's see if it sustains. I love the crew, by the way. They brought back Carl Edwards out of hiding. He's a face that NASCAR fans missed. He's an electric, polarizing figure to NASCAR. And then you got Dale Jr. on the opposite end of that, also electric, polarizing figure in NASCAR. These are some of NASCAR's previous most popular drivers. And oh, by the way, one of the most successful podcast hosts in all of NASCAR, who
Yep.
happens to still be an active driver, just didn't have a seat this past weekend, and Corey LaJoie did an incredible job as a color analyst post-race and pre-race. And I just absolutely loved every aspect of the broadcast. So shout out to Prime. You made me a believer as far as week 1 goes. Let's see. Can we sustain this through the next couple of weeks? Because we got 4 more Prime races. And, it makes me excited for next year already if it holds up because, really, really fun to see. But, so going into Nashville, there's a lot to love about going into Nashville for a primetime race. We're starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time, so you're going to have cooler track temperatures on a concrete track, which, concrete does not hold heat as well as asphalt does anyway. So
Right.
you're going to have a cold surface. Be interesting to see what type of tire NASCAR brings, or NASCAR, I should say Goodyear brings for this event, for all of these races, really, because all of them are going to be run on those cooler track temperatures. The trucks, the Xfinity race, and the Cup Series, all running at night. And Sunday night racing is I love it. I love night racing, first of all. And there's something about this place, I think, that is going to make for a special event, to not just start it and end it when it's getting to sunset, but to start it at nighttime, basically, or start it at sunset and let it finish under the moon in Nashville, Music City. It's just, I'm really, really looking forward to this. I look at the entry list. You got Rowdy Busch into the Truck Series race on Friday night in Aspire machine. I expect him to be very strong and contend for a win. This is a track that suits Rowdy. It's a track that he knows where victory lane is. And I feel like he could find victory lane in the truck race. Although right now, looking at these Truck Series veterans, these full timers in the Truck Series, you're going to have to go through Corey Heim. It is
Yep.
Corey Heim versus the world right now. The dude is finding ways to lose races that he should definitely have won. I think he should have 3 more wins easily right now than he does. And oh, by the way, he's running 2 races this weekend. Corey Heim is going to be in the NASCAR Cup Series race on Sunday night in the 67 machine for 2311 Racing. So, I expect to see Corey Heim have an incredible Friday evening. I even expect to see Corey Heim having a top 15 piece on Sunday.
I,
I really think that this is a track that suits Corey Heim. He's shown that he is capable of running in the top 15 in these intermediate tracks. So yeah, I really look forward to that. And then on Saturday, we have last week's World 600, Coke 600, whatever you want to call it, winner, Ross Chastain, going to drive for Dale Jr. in the 9 car. He's the only Cup driver that is running in that field. He's going to be a problem for all those cars out there. I mean, Junior Motorsports has had speed all season long.
Yep.
Justin Allgaier, Sammy Smith. That 9 car is going to be bad fast. It's just a matter of, can they qualify right, and can Ross keep it up front? As long as they don't have any mistakes or get caught up in anybody else's, I'm saying right now, Ross Chastain's finishing in the top 5 and going to contend probably for a win. Those Junior Motorsports cars, I think, are going to be very solid as well. And I also think that you're going to see the guys from Haas Factory Team make some noise. I think both the 41 and the 00, as far as, these full-time Xfinity drivers, those Fords, I think, are going to show up ready to rock on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. And then, we get into Sunday, and, well, NASCAR odds, all eyes are looking at the guy who had a horrible, horrible double duty last weekend, and Kyle Larson. Anything and everything went wrong for this guy. Just wrecked both of his machines on Sunday. Just was not the double that he wanted. He didn't get his 1,100 miles in. It's unfortunate 2 years in a row. He just had the mishaps, but I think he's going to put that all behind him. Vegas certainly thinks so too. Plus 450 odds leads the entire NASCAR field. Kyle Larson going into Nashville, a track where he does run really well. He has as far as statistical best odds out of any driver with more than one start in the field since 2022. He has an average finish of 5.7. Hard not to talk about Kyle Larson. He's fast. It's just, can he not hurt himself?
Right.
And that's where we're at with Larson, and him and his race team. Is like, the speed will be there, but will the mistakes also be there, or will he run a clean race? Because if he runs a clean race, it's a top 5 day for Kyle Larson, and that's why the betting odds love him. Now, we got to talk about somebody else who's also extremely fast at this track, and that's Denny Hamlin. He comes in right behind Kyle Larson at plus 550. And I just want to say this: Denny Hamlin's really, really good here.
Yep.
He's led 28.5% of the laps here in the last 3 races. That's pretty big chunk of the number there. So it's somebody that you're going to have to think about come Sunday evening on who is going to be contending for a win. Now, I also want to take a moment to chat about somebody else whose average finish is not as high, but has also led a lot of laps here. And just the average finish got ruined last year because of mistakes. And that's his teammate in Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell had this thing under lock and key. The most dominant car in the field last year. He won stage 1, won stage 2, had a pit road penalty, and then got back in traffic, got a little bit too aggressive or in his own head because he buried himself on a mistake trying to make up for it, whips the car around all by himself, solo car accident, just junked his 20 machine, and he was done.
Yep.
His day was over. He had the absolute most dominant car in this field last year. Wasn't even close, folks. And that's, Christopher Bell. If he had not had that incident, well, his average finish would be a lot higher than what it is here, because he has 2 top 10s here. And he was gearing for a win, if not an easy top 5 last year here. Led so many laps, just wasn't meant to be. And then we look at the rest of the driver odds here. Chase Elliott, very good here, has a win here, has a 7.7 average finish, in 3 starts. Joey Logano, last year's winner, average finish of 9.7. Ryan Preece runs really well here. Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, another winner here. Actually, this is a solid track for Ross Chastain all around.
Yep.
And Trackhouse kind of calls this their home track. Shop based out of Nashville, and got Tootsie's right down the road, which is a sponsor of Trackhouse. I believe they're going to be on the 99 car this weekend,
Correct.
for Daniel Suarez, who is another one you might have to think about. I want to mention that because Daniel Suarez showed a lot of speed on a track that's kind of similar, just asphalt instead of concrete, in Las Vegas. Suarez had a very strong car there. So did Chastain. So if those Trackhouse cars bring the speed they had out in the desert of Vegas, I believe that they're going to have a good weekend here in Nashville and their quote unquote self-dubbed home track. I just you look at the rest of the driver odds too. Chastain's a plus 1100. Right above him is Tyler Reddick. The Toyotas were very strong here last year. The 2311 cars did well here. And also want to point out when in comparison to those similar tracks of like the Vegas and the Homestead, something that you could kind of take the gauge here. And I can even look at the concrete track of Dover. The 2311 cars should probably have some speed here this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Not surprised at all by the odds. I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on Kyle Larson and the Indy double there at Charlotte and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I watched Larson very closely after he got out of his Indy car and jumped in the helicopter, and everybody saw his post on social media. I've never seen Kyle Larson look dejected like that before. And Kyle Larson is usually the goldfish, right? He's got the short memory. He moves on to the next whatever racing seat he's jumping in. He forgets things so quick. But for some reason, for some just minuscule reason, he was on that plane. He made that video for social media, and it just looked like it bothered him. It got to him. It got to his soul a little bit. Fast forward 3 hours, and we see a driving style of a driver that looked like he couldn't shake what had happened earlier that day. Okay. Now,
with a rocket ship under him as well.
that was stupid fast, man. Just absolutely incredible. He jumps out of an Indy car, jumps into a NASCAR stock car, and is leading laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Gets himself into a little bit of trouble. We've talked about that with Kyle Larson before. Where he finds himself being overly aggressive or optimistic with the handling of his race car, and he catches himself in trouble, wrecks it, gets into the wall a little bit, spins out on the front straightaway, could never recover from there. So after that, he got taken out in somebody else's wreck. But yeah, I saw a little bit of a different Kyle Larson post Indy, pre Charlotte, and it was weird. It was awkward almost that he was that bothered by the race. Now, that just goes to show how much it means to him, because he does care. He cares about his wins. He cares about his fans. And I know he was just devastated that not only did he wreck his practice and qualifying IndyCar, he went out there and just, wiped out the wall with his race ready. So, it is what it is. Yeah. We haven't heard anything about if he's going to try it again. It would be really cool if he did, but if he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised either. So,
yeah, I mean, there, to follow up on that, there was a little bit of an interview footage that I saw today, asking Kyle about running the double again, and he talked about how he really was uncertain. He fulfilled the 2-year contractual obligation,
right?
But he says, I definitely want to run Indy again, but I'm just not sure if it's going to be now, because the margins as far as time to get all those laps in and then get to Charlotte in time has just been so tight.
And that's assuming you don't have weather issues. That's assuming you don't have red flag issues at Indy where parts of the race are being either postponed or delayed. Like all of that taken into consideration. And then you talk about the fatigue aspect, guys. This is not easy. If it were easy, everybody would do it. Kyle Larson is a different breed. Kyle Larson is capable of doing it. We just haven't been able to see it fully materialize. And I don't know if we're going to get that opportunity. So I wanted to throw that in before we did our dark horses and our picks and all that good stuff that comes with it, because that man deserves his flowers because of what he's capable of doing. And
Yeah.
we've had the conversation before, Ryan, that Larson is his own worst enemy sometimes because of how aggressive he is. That catches up with him from week to week. Either it plays out in his favor and he goes out and dominates and wins the race, or he finds himself getting himself into trouble and wrecks himself out. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of leads me right into, before we get into our dark horse and our favorite, I wanted to talk about the points because you talked about how we're halfway through the regular season, not the entire season, but the regular season.
right.
And Kyle Larson went into Charlotte with a points lead and left minus the points lead.
Yep.
William Byron, absolute dominant piece in stage one, stage two, maximum points, really, except for the win. He regained the points lead over Kyle Larson, is 29 points to the good over Kyle Larson.
Right.
Christopher Bell, third in points, 74 points out of the top spot. Chase Elliott, 84 points out of the top spot. Tyler Reddick sitting in fifth at minus 107. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, and Alex Bowman round up your top 10. And, I want to point somebody out who has been climbing, eking slowly their way up the leaderboard on the point standings. And he's sitting in 11th right now after a solid run out in Charlotte, finishing third is Chase Briscoe, sitting in 11th spot, and Bubba Wallace in 12th. Been an impressive season for Briscoe. Really kind of slow start. Of course, they had to overcome that penalty that was overturned, but just climbing their way out and starting to get some results, and eking some good finishes one after another. And speaking of penalties, we had a little bit of an amend to a penalty on Chris Buescher. He gets 30 points back. So he is now sitting higher, and as a result, he was 23rd at the end of the Coke 600. But with the overturn and getting some points back because they found that he only violated at the appeals board the front bumper cover issue and not the exhaust cover panel, that he was given 30 points back, moves from 23rd to 16th in the regular points, and that is huge. That's a significant amount of points. And as we know, 16 drivers make it into the postseason. And only as of right now, um, you know, following this race, only 8 drivers right now are in on wins. So, we have um, 8 more spots to be full, and we only have a handful of races to get to. That cutoff race where the regular season champion will be crowned, and we'll be locking in the postseason, and business will pick up for sure. But with 8 positions locked, eight not guaranteed, every point matters right now. Every point matters, and those stage points, the race finish points, they all matter. Of course, you could go out and put yourself in victory lane. You're good. But yeah, I'm excited. Where we sit right now. The playoff points. Kyle Larson is actually the playoff point leader. He has the most playoff points right now with 3 wins. Um, the playoff points are 23 for him. Christopher Bell also has 3 wins, but only has 16 playoff points. So, that little bit of a difference right now between the two. Yeah, every point matters. Got to go out and get those stage points. You got to go out and get wins. That's what's going to get you far in the postseason. Stack those points now while you can.
You are absolutely right. I love that you brought up Chase Briscoe because he has slowly, methodically been working his way back up. He's not trying to get it all back at once, right? He's getting it little by little. He's got 5 top 5 finishes this year. That's pretty darn good considering going through a team switch, getting to know a completely new group of guys and ownership and the way their procedures run. That's not easy. So to be sitting 11th like he is, hats off to that team, that 19 team at JGR and Chase Briscoe. Well done. Somebody else I want to talk about real quick who is trending the opposite direction. Someone who started the season very, very well, very consistent, but of the last 3 races, has found himself in sub 30 finishes, and that's a 23 of Bubba Wallace. And if Bubba Wallace is not careful and starts handling his business again, obviously, I think 4 of his rough finishes have come of fault of not of his own. Now, where we used Bubba Wallace get himself into trouble, and that would hinder his playoff opportunities. Now he's having great races, he's having great cars, and is getting caught up in other people's mess. It's happened week after week after week. No excuses. You got to find a way to get around it. And Bubba Wallace just hasn't done that the last few weeks. He is trending backwards, and he's trending backwards in a hurry. So if he's not careful, he's going to find himself under 16th place and not in the playoffs again. And that's just not a good look. So
you're not wrong. And that team just absolutely missed on the setup this weekend, where we've seen the 45 have top 5 speed the entire night. And he had late race issue that took that away. But the 23 car did not have that top 5 pace at all. Just mired back in traffic, couldn't do anything with that race car seemingly all night in Charlotte. So they'll be looking to rebound here in Nashville. And you're absolutely right. They need it. So especially with, like you said, these races just keep ticking down. If you're not capitalizing, getting your points, getting solid finishes, there's going to be drivers that will. And I mean, it's been fun to watch for sure. And then, right now sitting in, that 9th through 16th spot. It's interesting, gotta give a shout out to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Him and Hayek Motors, quietly having a pretty decent season for just a single car operation, going out there, handling their business, getting finishes good enough to keep themselves, as of right now, in playoff contention. Can't ask for much more than that. He's one of those drivers we don't really talk about all the time on the show, but right now, he's in the top 16 in points, folks, as far as playoff points is concerned. Something to keep an eye on. And in regular season points, he's sitting 13th. So that's higher than Kyle Busch, for instance. So it's going to be fun to watch. And we get into these types of races, and that are coming up. I think that we are going to see a couple winners, maybe even another first-time winner this year. I know he had a rocket ship last weekend, but Carson Hocevar, certainly somebody that could put his 77 into victory lane, and just take another playoff spot. So guys got to watch. If you're not locked in with the win, there are some drivers I think that are sitting back there further in points. Even one really far down the board, really far is probably what you're thinking. Go ahead and say it. Yeah,
Keselowski, man, if he doesn't get a win soon, dude, just put a ribbon on the season and call it a day, because it's just not good. I don't understand what's going on with that 6 car. He's got his 2 other cars that he owns sitting in 16th and 17th in the playoff standings right now, and you're sub 30, bro. So I don't know what's going on in that 6 camp. Obviously, they're all professionals. They know what to do. It's just about going out and executing, and they're not doing it, man. It's
and they've shown flashes of that speed too, so we know they have it. It's just got to put a race together, and that's what they're up against it right now. I knew you were going to say that, and I mean, there's some others down the board as well that are full timers that, I want to talk about this. I'll just mention it now. Just going to put it out there. 3 initials, SVG. He could steal a playoff spot with a win at one of these road courses coming up. So, Mexico's just a couple weeks away. And that is a track that he absolutely could go out and win. So, again, you want to get yourself in the playoffs. The best way to do it is go win a race. And, there's some guys down there in the standings still got some speed. SVG showed some really good speed at North Wilkesboro. The Trackhouse program is getting faster, so watch out. But let's get into these dark horses and our favorites for the week. I'll let you do the honors. You can go first. You had the highest finishing driver last week out of the 2 of us, so go ahead, man. Lay it down.
almost had one last week. We neither one of us nailed one, other than I think the Clash, a dark horse, nailed it. I mean, we're talking almost 4 months ago, so we got to pick up our business a little bit, you know. Yeah, we've already talked about this guy earlier in the episode. He was strong here last year in maybe what some would consider a lower tier Ford team or opportunity there at Haas Factory, what was Stewart Haas Racing. But that 19 of Chase Briscoe, man, they're building a little bit of momentum. The team is gelling really well as the season rolls on, and we're deep into the meat of the season right now, right? This is where you start preparing yourself and lining yourself up for a playoff run. And I think at the JGR camp, they are no stranger to getting set up for playoff runs. We see it with Hamlin. We see it with Bell. We've seen it with Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, all these guys in the past. They are looking at the playoffs. They're not messing around with regular season. They know what they got to do to get there, but they are focused in. And I think that 19 team is kind of turning that same corner with these consistent finishes. And again, he got pole last week at Charlotte. So I'm going to roll with Chase Briscoe. He had a great run last year at Nashville, and going up against some of these ridiculously fast Toyotas that he was dealing with. Now he's in one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with Chase Briscoe in that 19.
I love the pick, and I mean that silent momentum that they're starting to put together, and as the season progresses, him and James Small working together longer. Chase making that adjustment from driving that Ford to the Toyota, which he said didn't think it would be as much difference as there is, but there is a significant difference, and just took some time to get that feel for that car. Those two, driver crew chief chemistry, all those things that moving cogs and pieces, and I think it's really starting to come together. I love that pick, absolutely love it. My dark horse, really, it's not going to surprise anybody. I mean, it's almost too easy. I'm going to roll with the momentum here and Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain absolutely loves this place. He has a win here. I just am putting him in the dark horse spot because it's hard to win back-to-back races in any series that you're in. But if there's one track that they can do it at, it's Nashville. Like, he just won Charlotte and is probably thinking, oh, well, next week was the one I was really thinking that we had a legit crack at. And now they're going to that track. So it's like, we just, we're playing with house money now. Let's go get another. And, I just have no reason to bet against the one team right now. And so that's why I'm going to put him in my dark horse, because it is hard to go back to back. But yeah, I absolutely love a watermelon smash again this weekend. If it's not in the Xfinity race, maybe it's in the Cup race.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very capable of going and getting both Saturday and Sunday. Let's talk about Ross Chastain last year. If he doesn't get taken out of that Nashville race in one of those overtimes that everybody was dealing with, we're probably talking about Ross going for 3 straight at Nashville, because he won in 2023 and he was darn close to getting it in 2024. Love that dark horse pick. Makes a ton of sense. Ross is crazy fast here. He's running with a lot of confidence right now, especially after adding a crown jewel, his very first crown jewel to his helmet. I think that's really important as far as momentum goes. Love that.
Yeah, pick. I just it's hard to not take it right now. It's the low dangling fruit, and you didn't take it, so I did. But my favorite, I'm going to go with the Christopher Bell Revenge Tour in Nashville. Like I said, the 20 car was just absolute rocket ship last year. Now the conditions were different. That was the daytime going into the twilight hours, sunset. Now it's a night race. But there's a couple reasons why I really like Bell still. The time of the day doesn't really matter to me much. It's the style of track. This is a shorter intermediate track. We all know, if you've been watching racing and not living under a rock, that JGR's short track package is absolutely insane. It's stupid good. And he was just amazing in North Wilkesboro 2 weeks prior. And, Phoenix, You look at a track like Phoenix where Bell is just absolutely, he won it the last 2 years in a row in the spring. Just all these reasons why picking the 20 car makes sense. And yeah, it's a homer pick. You can say, oh, Ryan's going with this guy again, whatever. You know, that's fine. But I'm also a smart picker. And I'm going to take somebody who, salvaged a decent Coke 600 for what it was. I mean, because they had some issues there where they were up front, went to the back, came back, got a good finish. But I'm telling you what, that 20 car is going to be fast. Got a DeWalt Camry on the track with a cool concrete paint scheme. I just like it to be parked at Victory Lane this weekend. So give me Seabell.
Love it. No reason to argue it. Look, there's a reason we pick the picks that we pick, right, Ryan? Like, we're not just blindly throwing together nonsense and just hoping for the best. Like, there's a method to the madness. Sometimes it lines up with the drivers that we root for, and sometimes it doesn't. I would pick Kyle Larson probably 80% of the season if I didn't know better, and I know he tends to wreck out at half of his races. So there's a method to it. There's a madness to it. Speaking of picking homer picks, no surprise here. The guy is ridiculous fast. He's going to get wins. I predicted he was going to get 4 or 5 wins this season. That 2311, again, another Toyota Camry because they are so incredibly fast here. But yeah, let's take a look at Tyler Reddick and his Pinnacle sponsored a beautiful blue and white car that they put together this week for Nashville. Can't wait to see it on track, on TV, of course. But yeah, I think Tyler Reddick goes out there. I think he's got unfinished business from last season that he thinks he could have polished off another victory to his 3. And I expect him to do nothing short of the exact same thing and go out there and just be fast, log laps, get some stage points, and be contending for that win by the end of the race.
Hard not to like Reddick here. It's a great pick. You could call us homers, but like you said, Don, and you said it well. We look at the statistics, we look at the data. There's a lot that goes into it, and this is a track that Reddick absolutely can go out and win. He finished second in stage 2 last year here. In stage 1, he finished third. He led 16 laps. Yeah, he's good here. And, I think he definitely started top 10. He finished third.
He got the most points last year at Nashville. I mean, he ended up with 51 points. The next closest was 40. That was Joey Logano because he won the darn thing. So, I mean, he is up front all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, honorable mention to Bubba Wallace's teammate, I think, is also going to be solid this weekend. Some of these Fords kind of sprinkled in the mix with how the race kind of played out at the end, and cars were just stacking up, and Logano kind of steps into one with, like you said, Ross gets taken out. And, one of those things where you got to be in position to win, and you got to have speed to be in position, and track position definitely matters here. But you can pass. But I just really feel like that both the Toyotas and the Chevys are going to be the cars to beat this weekend. I look for Hendrick Motorsports to still come out swinging. Alex Bowman was a name that jumped at me. I'm giving you guys at home, if you're putting some money down, don't be afraid to look at the 48 this weekend. I really like what I see out of that guy. He's just been consistent all year and he's been around. He's due eventually. The 24 again is going to be fast. Newsflash. It's like it's again, the low hanging fruit is there for a reason. They're consistent. They're good. But the question is, when's Blaney going to show up and close one of these things out? Could it be this weekend? Maybe, but I'm not leaning on that one. Not this weekend. There's some tracks that coming up. Yeah, there's some tracks coming up for him soon, but not this one.
Yeah, no, I'm not expecting much out of Blaney. I can predict a top 10 finish, kind of just going off of the way the rest of his season has gone so far, and leading into he's not as good as some of these other guys that we've covered in this episode. So yeah, Ryan Blaney, is going to be a name that jumps out, but give me a solid top 10 out of that 12
Yeah,
car for
yeah,
sure.
I agree. But those Penske cars kind of were flat last weekend at Charlotte, just totally missed. I don't know if it was the drama that took place in Indy that carried over into the Cup teams, with the penalties that took place and cars getting sent to the rear. But who knows? But they definitely missed the setup in Charlotte. We'll see what they bring to the concrete. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have an action-packed weekend, some great solid racing on the concrete at night, and it's going to be fun. Can't wait.
Love me some night racing, Ryan. Can't wait to watch it with you, bud. And if you are headed out to Nashville Speedway this weekend, fans, weather looks amazing. Take your sunscreen though, because it's not a cloud in the sky on Saturday or Sunday. Friday showed a slight possibility of rain. No harm, no foul. If the trucks can't go, they'll go on Saturday where it's nice, beautiful, and clear. Take your sunscreen. Both days look absolutely incredible. Can't wait for that. I think I saw low 80s, high 70s. So you can't ask for much more from a race weather day. But yeah, man, from everybody here at 5 Lug Racing, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for continuing to follow and support what Ryan and I love to do. Smash the likes, smash the share, show some of your friends some of this stuff. We would love to just start sprinkling ourselves out more and more. Ryan, I forgot to tell you this. My buddy, my neighbor next door, he works up in Maryland sometimes, and his buddy is a NASCAR fan, and he is now a follower of our show. So he joined our social media and our YouTube. So we want to shout out a brand new follower up there in Maryland. Thank you so much for joining us. But yeah, man, I can't wait for Nashville. The meat of the season, we're getting into it, man. We are firmly right in the middle of it. It's super exciting. Can't wait to talk about it as soon as it finishes. But yeah, from everybody here at 5 Lug Racing, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all take care.